In the mystical Everglow forest, Lloyd and Javier embark on a daring mission to extract sap from the Ellensha tree. The elves, known to be xenophobic, and they haven't interacted with other races in the last 500 years. Lloyd instructs Javier to create a diversion by running through the forest, attracting the attention of the elves, while he digs a tunnel underground to reach the tree's roots. Javier, despite his reservations, complies and sprints through the forest, causing explosions and luring the elves. Elves are known to love plants, and Javier uses this information to his advantage. He hides behind trees and plants whenever the elves attempt to attack him, stopping their actions to not hurt the plants. Meanwhile, Lloyd, using the Azron technique skill, digs a tunnel with Energizer activated. He reaches the roots and carefully collects the sap. A group of elves show up behind him and intimidate him. Lloyd uses a torch to threaten them, saying he will burn the plant if they don't back off. The elves back off as they exit the hole. Lloyd notices that the elves look weak and malnourished. Lloyd seizes the opportunity to negotiate with the hungry elf women by enticing them with descriptions of mouth-watering meats. He reveals his knowledge of their carnivorous nature due to the monster domino phenomenon affecting the forest's animal population. The elves, weakened by hunger, reluctantly engage in the negotiation. Lloyd proposes a deal, offering to provide them with various meats in exchange for safe passage out of the forest. The elf women, captivated by the prospect of a feast, cautiously consider Lloyd's proposal, leading to a surprising turn of events in the tense situation. Javier, pursued by skilled elf archers, showcases his agility and combat prowess as he navigates through the forest. He realizes the elves' exceptional accuracy and the forest's unique conditions. Despite the intense chase, Javier must ensure he returns to Lloyd within the allotted time. Eventually, he employs a powerful sword technique to counter the arrows and create an opening. He breaks out of the elves' encirclement and heads out to the Ellensha tree. He proceeds cautiously, reaching Lloyd, only to find a surprising scene: Lloyd and the elf chief, Mira, peacefully grilling pork belly together. Lloyd proposed providing meat and coal to the tribe in exchange for the right to harvest Ellensha root sap every month and 100 elven laborers. Mira hesitates but eventually accepts the conditions. Javier, initially bewildered, becomes part of the unexpected negotiation, flipping meat on the grill while trying to comprehend the strange turn of events. Lloyd's unconventional approach seems to be working in their favor. Mira, chief of the elf tribe, accompanies Lloyd Frontera out of the forest into his territory. As they reach Frontera's domain, Mira observes the human settlement with a mix of awe and discomfort. The Prona River encircles the territory, and various human activities, from villages to fields, dominate the landscape. Mira laments the vast use of trees for construction, making her uneasy about the impact on the forest. Lloyd, noticing her thoughts, explains the diversity in ways of living, citing monks who eat only plants. Mira and 100 elven laborers agree to work for Lloyd in exchange for meat and coal. Lloyd, surprised at the elves' strength and skills, begins training them for steelwork. He emphasizes safety and motivates them with promises of pork belly. Mira, now a skilled elven steelworker, experiences a surprising sense of familiarity and freedom as she soars above the construction site of the steel-framed apartment building. Despite missing her life in the Everglow forest, Mira finds similarities between the height and space of the building and the forest. She effortlessly moves between the steel bars, performing acrobatics and demonstrating her elven agility. Lloyd, supervising the site, is amazed by the elves' natural aptitude for steelwork. He contemplates the accelerated progress and plans to finish the 8th floor construction before the onset of winter. With the construction advancing swiftly, Lloyd shifts his focus to heating work for Building 101. He concocts a mixture of Ellensha extract and soybean oil to enhance the insulation performance. The successful insulation transforms the heating pipes, and Lloyd proceeds to prioritize moving refugees with health issues to the newly constructed apartments. The first group of refugees expresses deep gratitude, and Lloyd, receiving a monumental construction achievement, contemplates the future benefits of the apartment complex. However, a sudden turn of events occurs when the royal messenger arrives, bearing a royal decree. As the royal decree is recited, Lloyd's hunch is confirmed. The Frontera territory is elevated to the rank of a county in recognition of its achievements and contributions. The silence following the announcement is broken only by the sobs of the newly promoted Count Frontera, overwhelmed by the unexpected turn of events. The royal decrees that follow outline various benefits and responsibilities, including the separation of Frontera County from the administrative organization of the Cremo region, tax exemptions, and resources for reconstruction. The adjacent Lacona Viscounty becomes a subordinate territory, and Count Frontera contemplates the implications of the newfound status. As celebrations ensue, a realization dawns on Lloyd: the elevated position comes with substantial responsibilities. To celebrate, Lloyd made a monument for Queen Alicia, praising her for her generosity. The news reaches Queen Alicia as the royal messenger reports to her. The next morning, facing Viscount Lacona, Count Frontera wasted no time in asserting authority. He requested engineers and workers from Viscount Lacona to aid the reconstruction of the East. In the aftermath of the meeting with Viscount Lacona, Lloyd Frontera revealed his true intentions as he visited the refugee camp. The soldiers preparing lunch distribution stopped to acknowledge his presence, creating a bustling atmosphere. As he walked among the refugees, the crowd recognized him, and murmurs turned into cheers and expressions of gratitude. Over 1,000 people gathered around him, expressing their thanks for providing warmth and refuge. Javier, noticing the unusual display of kindness from Lloyd, became suspicious, considering Lloyd's notorious penny-pinching nature. However, Lloyd surprised everyone by presenting a stack of documents and a contract. With a beaming smile, he invited the refugees to take a look, hinting at an unexpected turn of events. Confusion lingered among the refugees as Lloyd explained that it offered them a chance to settle down, own farmland, and live more comfortably than in the cramped camp. Reflecting on his own past struggles, Lloyd empathized with their desire for a better life. He unveiled the plan to develop the eastern slope of the eastern mountain, converting it into terraced farming land. Lloyd presented a contract promising land to those who participated diligently. The refugees, inspired by the opportunity, eagerly signed up for the project, showcasing the power of the phrase, "first come, first served." After securing numerous applicants, Lloyd was satisfied with the success of his plan. The following day, he commenced the survey for the development project, deciding to construct stone masonry retaining walls. However, the challenge arose in finding suitable materials for the wire mesh. Struggling with this dilemma, Lloyd's fantasy creature suggested the idea of summoning a new friend through a random creature summoning. Lloyd discovers a method to influence the probability of random summons by earnestly wishing for specific abilities and forming a clear image in his mind. After 3 consecutive failures, he unlocks the achievement, Bankruptcy, allowing him to choose the skill of his next fantasy creature. He notices the skill, Getting Spider Webs, on the list and realizes that it can function like a mesh. With the encouragement of his fantasy creatures, Podong and Hamang, Lloyd decides to go all in and invests 800 Rp in the premium draw. As the light swirls, a new fantasy creature named Goming emerges with a powerful and determined cry. It can drop spiderwebs through its backpack. Lloyd successfully tests Goming's spider silk, discovering its exceptional strength, durability, and adhesive properties. Goming's skills are great and all, but there's just one problem. He's lazy, really lazy. He doesn't want to work and says the world will still go on even if they do nothing. He also reasons that Lloyd summons him so he has to take care of him. Podong disagrees and tries to reason with him. Lloyd, realizing that he cannot control Goming through words alone, decided to use strength instead. He gives Podong a red sunflower seed to increase his size and deal with Goming. The word spreads among the refugees about the Lord who harnesses the power of fantasy creatures for construction, earning Lloyd admiration and recognition for his genius with summoning magic. Lloyd, recognizing the power of image, purposefully took Goming to fly, impressing the onlookers and solidifying the perception of his greatness. With a clear design in mind, Lloyd begins the construction process, involving Javier, Bayern, the engineering corps, and the refugees. The construction progressed with the strategic use of fantasy creatures, including Podong's digging, Bibyung's screening of backfill soil, and Goming's creation of a spider silk mesh. The retaining walls took shape, and Lloyd remained focused on the testing phase, evaluating the structure's performance in the face of the spring rainy season. Later, he presented contracts and attendance records to Count Frontera, explaining the meticulous work management to prevent proxy attendance. The Count signed the documents, acknowledging the sacrifices made for the project. Lloyd received notifications of his achievements, including becoming one of the top civil engineers in the continent's history. The distribution of farmland triggered additional praises from the settled refugees, resulting in increased crop yield probabilities and harvest amounts for the next 30 years. Lloyd celebrated his success and the RP rewards, alleviating concerns about future food shortages. However, amidst the joy, he felt occasional unease, prompting him to use the ending spoiler skill to catch a glimpse of the unfolding ending scene. As the portal opened, Lloyd stepped into the milky white area, only to be met with disbelief at what he saw. In a revelation spurred by the use of the ending spoiler skill, Lloyd glimpses a future where he faces an illness that leads to his death. As he witnesses this scene, he realizes it's not a distant future but rather an impending one, likely next spring. The ending involves an epidemic in his territory, exacerbated by an unusually severe cold spell. Javier, desperately trying to save Lloyd, administers emergency treatment, and the vision ends with Lloyd's death. After returning to the present, Lloyd contemplates preventing the epidemic and deduces that the sewage issue in the refugee camp may play a role. Lloyd now faces the challenge of preventing the epidemic and ensuring the well-being of his territory. He realizes the potential danger of improper sewage disposal in Frontera County, drawing parallels to Vienna's crisis. He understands how overcrowding and lack of proper sewage facilities led to the cholera epidemic. Lloyd, determined to prevent a similar fate in his territory, decides to implement a sewer system. The county is lacking a labor force, so Lloyd decides to send a message to Count Cremo to recruit workers. Lloyd wakes up to an unusual scene. A message revealing that residents and refugees were volunteering for unpaid labor. Skeptical and accustomed to life's challenges, Lloyd questioned the sincerity behind this unexpected show of support. As he contemplated the situation, he discovered a series of praises and achievements reflecting the impact he had unknowingly made on the community. Overwhelmed, he realized that the residents had gathered in front of his mansion, willing to work for him without payment. Despite his initial disbelief, Lloyd decided to organize the volunteers, drafting individual contracts and ensuring fair treatment. Meanwhile, Samarkand, the Sultan of Asfahan, received news from the spies he sent to the west. They have the following in the West Village that was overturned by the monster Domino. A bizarre bird that split the heavens, and a beast that destroyed the earth. A beast that could swallow the sea, and a snake that devours mountains. And lastly, a monster whose roars ring in the skies. They're all being raised there. The workers of that village defeated orcs with their bare hands, and their old clerks move faster than the winds. Even the powerful white cavalry has started to wield shovels instead of spears. The elves and orcs are also using their strength to build buildings. If their non-combatants are this strong, then, how strong are their soldiers? Samarkand is curious about that place. Lloyd's ambitions didn't end with recruiting the volunteers. He set his sights on securing resources for the upcoming construction, leading him to the Lacona estate. There, a commotion unfolded, with Diego, the son of Lacona, overseeing a fight among servants. Diego Lacona, once a promising young man from the prestigious Lacona family, encounters Lloyd Frontera, a figure from his past who elicits fear rather than anger. Diego, tormented by his expulsion from the Royal Academy and subsequent fall from grace, resorts to harassing servants to vent his frustration. However, when faced with Lloyd, his usual anger dissipates, replaced by an instinctive fear rooted in past encounters. Lloyd, aware of Diego's weakness, manipulates him into guiding him to Viscount Lacona's office. Inside, Lloyd skillfully negotiates the establishment of a quarry in Lacona's territory, securing control over its resources for the reconstruction efforts in Frontera County. Despite initial resistance, Viscount Lacona succumbs to Lloyd's persuasive tactics, unwittingly becoming a pawn in Lloyd's grand plan for the main sewage system construction. The quarry became a vital project for Lloyd as he planned to construct the main sewer system for Frontera County. Recognizing the limitations of cement and steel, Lloyd opted for granite due to its durability and resistance to deformation, essential for the challenging maintenance of the extensive sewer system. With his workforce and fantasy creatures, including podong, bibyung, and baby mastodons, Lloyd transformed the southern mountain slopes into a granite quarry. Simultaneously, Byron was entrusted with constructing paved roads for efficient stone transport. Lloyd, however, faced a significant challenge in sludge disposal from the sewage treatment process. Unable to transport the sludge far and considering the environmental and logistical challenges, Lloyd contemplated incineration as a solution. He remembers someone in the novel that can help with sludge incineration. Lloyd meets Corgadus in the smithy and asks if he can make armor made of Ellensha sap. He needs the fire resistance for his next plan. Lloyd took Javier on an unexpected picnic, revealing his intention to meet a dragon for a potential solution to the sludge disposal problem. In the flame cave at the southern end of the eastern mountains, Solitas, a red dragon and owner of the dungeon, laments his loneliness. Despite his immense size and strength, Solitas feels a void in his life due to the lack of accumulated treasure in his dungeon. The Dragon's Law, enacted by Dragon King Verkis, prohibits dragons from plundering and accumulating wealth through force. Solitas, unable to process gemstones properly, struggles to amass the treasure required for marriage and despairs over his perceived inadequacy. Unexpectedly, an intruder triggers the dungeon's traps, leading to a confrontation between the dragon and two humans, Lloyd and Javier. As Solitas prepares to unleash his deadly breath attack, Lloyd reveals that the plan is already in motion and expresses confidence in Javier's ability to handle the situation, leaving the Swordmaster and the dragon on the brink of a fateful clash. The impact was powerful, and the dragon staggered, its scales vibrating from the force of the strike. Solitas, the red dragon, roared in response, shaken by the unexpected strength of Javier's attack. The fiery aura around Javier's sword continued to burn intensely, creating a dazzling display of magical energy. Lloyd, observing from a safe distance, grinned with satisfaction. The negotiation strategy was working. The display of strength had caught the dragon's attention. Javier seized the opportunity to demonstrate his dominance. Swiftly, he moved away from Solitas, maintaining a defensive stance to assess the dragon's reaction. Solitas, recovering from the blow, glared at Javier with a mixture of surprise and irritation. The intense battle had reached a critical juncture, with both parties gauging each other's capabilities. As the echoes of the clash lingered in the dungeon, Javier prepared for the next move. He understood the importance of maintaining composure and asserting dominance in negotiations, especially with a creature as powerful as a dragon. The fiery exchange between man and dragon continued, setting the stage for the crucial negotiations that would follow. As the clash between Javier and Solitas unfolded, the force of Javier's aura and the ensuing explosion pierced the dragon's shoulder. Solitas cried out in pain, experiencing a sensation he had never felt before. Despite the relatively small wound, the pain was intense, prompting thoughts of his dragon pride and a yearning for his mother. In a bewildered state, Solitas attempted to understand how a mere human could inflict such damage without any polymorph magic. Fueled by wounded pride, Solitas unleashed a relentless assault, but Javier skillfully evaded every attack, leaving the dragon frustrated. In a desperate attempt to escape, Solitas initiated a plan involving a fiery breath attack and a transformation into a human using polymorph magic. However, his escape was hindered by anti-teleportation magic runes in the dungeon. As Solitas rushed towards the exit, he encountered a man, who identified him as the Red Dragon. With no time to revert to his original form, Solitas faced the imminent threat of beheading, contemplating his fate and lamenting the unfairness of never experiencing love. In a surprising turn, a mysterious voice offered a proposal to Solitas, introducing the possibility of marriage within 10 years. Caught off guard by a sudden sweet proposal, Solitas halted his self-destruction plans and turned toward the source of the voice. Knowing Solitas' prideful personality based on the novel, Lloyd realizes that the negotiation won't proceed smoothly if he doesn't appease Solitas' hurt pride. He pretends to scold Javier for what he has done. Lloyd revealed a proposal to help Solitas overcome his struggles. The proposal involved becoming an apprentice to a skilled dwarf artisan, Wells Corgadus, to improve his gemstone crafting skills. Lloyd's plan unfolded further, offering Solitas the opportunity to use his breath attack once a day to burn sewage sludge in Lloyd's territory, creating fertilizer. The dragon, torn between pride and the prospect of a better life, ultimately accepted the proposal, opening a new path in his destiny. Lloyd presented a document for an outsourced labor contract, sealing the deal with practicality and ruthlessness. And just like that, Lloyd recruits a dragon for his territory.